Emotional intelligence. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the simple act of being able to regulate your own emotions, but still be able to recognise emotions in others, other living species, not just your own. Arnie was an 8-year-old German Shepherd who died in the most unbelievable, agonising and tragic circumstances you could ever imagine. The human being that had a duty of care to Arnie had no emotional intelligence. His emotional intelligence was completely absent. Now, this human being was made and had accountability forced on him through the law courts. 240 hours of community service and no conviction recorded. Now, we can judge, blame, feel anger and resentment to that human being, but that's not conscious to do either. That's not an emotionally intelligent thing to do. This human being was suffering during the time that he had made those horrific, catastrophic series of decisions that not only started off with his own suffering, because that's why he performed and decided on the things that he decided, because he was already suffering. He was in his human condition mindset, so entrenched in that, he was suffering. He made these unconscious decisions, and that then caused the absolute agonising suffering for another living species, but also his human family, his children, and the wider human community. This dog owner, and I'm calling him a dog owner because he's completely disconnected from his dog. Dog owners have to have accountability forced on them through the law. When you have emotional intelligence, you are reconnected with your dog. You are a dog guardian. That's not something, accountability, that's not something you have to have forced onto you, because you see accountability as an obligation and you have a willingness to accept responsibility for your own actions. Now, this human being that had this accountability forced on him, 240 hours community service and no conviction recorded, even though this human being was unconscious in his action, we can't label him, judge, blame, because we are being just as unconscious. Now, just imagine the low level and grotesque low level of consciousness that this human being was living in order to set off this series, this terrible chain reaction of decisions that caused the suffering of Arnie and others. The difference of being a dog owner and a dog guardian, as I said, accountability is going to be forced onto you if you're a dog owner. Now, that's because you see accountability as something that's outside of yourself, something that is an interference into your life and something that you're likely going to be antagonistic towards. Being a dog guardian, it's a gentle shift into wanting to take conscious action because you have that obligation and the willingness to take responsibility for your own actions, your own suffering, and not inflict your suffering onto others. Your aim and your inner guidance is urging you to be able to observe your own suffering, but then reduce the suffering of others around you rather than dump that suffering onto them as well. And that can be in the most extreme aggravated circumstances that is the subject of this video, or in the most seemingly benign things of the lived experience of your dog related to their suffering, that could be related to every time you jerk their neck because you don't want them to have a sniff, or you have to put a halty onto your dog's face because you want to be able to walk and not let your dog sniff and have a coffee in your hand and not be interrupted while you're on your phone. Or you want to go out for 16 hours of the day because, okay, fair enough, you might have to work, but then when you come home you ignore your dog and your dogs are barking all day, every day because they're wanting human social contact. They need human social contact. They need emotional satisfaction. So having emotional intelligence is being reconnected with your dog. Having emotional intelligence is taking accountability for your own actions and taking responsibility for your own actions. Emotional intelligence is being able to have the courage to take conscious action, to pull yourself out of the system, to pull yourself out of your human conditioned mindset with all the grotesque stories and the things that you tell yourself in your human conditioned mindset, to be able to detach from that, step back, look at your own suffering, but stepping in the present moment and realising the insignificance of you as a human being compared to the universe, if that's something that is going to resonate with you. I also just want to mention the lived experience of being an owner versus being a guardian. You can see that they're starkly different for the humans. But it also means that the consequence of the lived experience for your dog is also going to be starkly different. So the case for reconnection, there is no more urgent time than now to simply reconnect with your dog. We'll talk again soon.